I'm ice, baby.
I'm nice, baby.
I'm Jack Frost. I'm going to bring down Santa Claus.
Woo! Next time we fly, go easy on the alfalfa, will you?
Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Rated G.
Good evening and welcome back to Filmnut. I'm Jeff Schubert, your host. We missed you. We have been gone for a few weeks. We're very excited to have you back. That was a clip from the movie Santa Claus 3, directed by my guest this evening, Michael Lembeck, who we will get to in just a few minutes. First, I want to check in with my executive producer extraordinaire, Brian Grimeau, who, when last we left him, was going off to first assistant direct a film. How did that go, Brian?
It went very well. We made all of our days, all of our shots. We went overtime, I think, 2 days, Pete? 2 days? Right? Pete was the producer there.
Two days.
2 days. And they're only about 13-hour days, not like really bad. So, it went well. It looks great, too. It looks really good.
Now, did you get the director lots of coffee like your dad thinks you do, or no?
No, people were getting me lots of coffee.
People were getting lots of coffee?
And I felt bad. I kept having, the PAs, but they got that done at least. They were new PAs, they were fresh blood, and, a PA has to be fresh blood because once they figure something out, they've gone on to bigger and better things. So.
Are we going to see this short on Filmnut at some point? Or
that'd be great. I'd love to have the director on. I have one of his previous shorts, and it looks amazing. Not only did he really spend a lot of time on the preparation, pre-production, and the set design, but they spent a lot of money on post on their films, so that's one of the good things.
Now, also, since the last time we were all together, the writer strike has commenced. Do you have any opinions on that, or?
I have, it's like a double-edged sword to me. In one respect, I'm addicted to primetime television, so if new episodes go away, then what do I do? And also, the spoiler alert, on Thursdays, we review primetime television, so that would go away. But on the other hand, if there's no new TV, that's more people that'll want to watch the stream.
There you go. That's another way of looking at it. Because of this show, people ask me a lot, or have been asking me, and I kind of have this pet peeve on TV when people get on camera and they talk about stuff they're not fully versed in, so I don't want to jump into that. I know more about one side than the other. I will say that James Gunn, who is a past guest on this show and a writer, Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, Dawn of the Dead, Slither, and so forth, he's written some very interesting blogs on it that on the message board thread for this particular show, I'll go ahead and post links to that. So if you're interested in what James Gunn has to say about it, you can check it out there. But for now, I'll leave it alone and hope that both sides come together and settle this thing soon. So having said that, let's move on to tonight's show. Michael Lembeck has been in the business for many years, first as an actor, then he moved on into directing. He also, with his sister, runs an improv comedy school that has been around, I think, for 30, 40 years now, between him and his sister and his father who began it. We're very excited to have him on tonight, and his name again is Michael Lembeck.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, thank you. I started in the business in the turn of the century. It was better then. It was easier then. There was no Writers Guild. You wrote and acted at the same time.
There you go. And of course, your school is improvisation, so.
Yeah. I believe we're in our 44th year. My dad started about 44 years ago. It's a comedy improv workshop, and it has given birth to many, many, many recognizable, famous people who, before they were just coming to us from their respective schools or homes. And, the Robin Williams, John Ritters, Penny Marshalls, John Larroquettes. And it continues to be this wonderful, wonderful place to exercise. There's nowhere to exercise your comedy muscles anywhere. And we offer that, and you get to get up 3 times a night and work on stuff, and it's wonderful. It's very gratifying. And I know now why my dad loved doing it so much.
Well, as you know, you're speaking a little bit to the choir, because I've been fortunate enough to study there over the years. Cal, Helene, hello, how you doing? And it's exactly what you say. And when I meet young actors or older actors who've never studied it and they talk about improv, and I say, if you want to utilize improv for the purposes of improving acting or for therapy, the Lembeck Comedy Workshop is a great place to go.
The so much having to do with the skill of acting is one's ability to listen.
Right.
And it is the grist for the mill, the food of improv. If you're not listening, particularly when you're doing comedy, you're gone. You're lost. And you have to be in the moment, and you have to listen. And it's what one strives for as they're learning to become a better actor. So it's a great tool. Yeah.
Improves your cold reading, improves your scene study by forcing you, as you say,
and it steals your nerves.
And it steals, right.
I mean, there's nothing harder than what we do. When you get to actually texted material, it seems, this is easy now.
Right. So now, I mentioned in the opening acting, directing. When did you make the choice to make the switch from acting to directing?
Somewhere in the approximately 10 years before I actually started directing, which was 1988, I wasn't really breaking a sweat enough for me. And I was already beginning to work with my dad in the workshop, and I was coaching actors. I was directing theater. I loved working with actors, and I knew at some point this is what I was going to move on to do. Which venue I chose was the challenge. Coming from theater myself and loving movie technique, I realized that the multiple camera sitcom was perfect for me because it was in a proscenium with a live audience, but there were 4 35mm cameras, so it was the best of both worlds. You get an immediate response, which I love coming from the theater, and you also have to figure out how to shoot it and cover it. So I spent those last 10 years or so while I was still acting, schooling myself in what is this geometry of shooting 6 actors on stage with 4 cameras. How the heck do you do that? So that's what I did, and I followed the very best around, the Paul Bogarts and the John Riches and the Noam Pitlicks and Jay Sandriches, and got myself acquainted with all that. And then it came time when I came back from doing a play in New York in '86 to shit or get off the pot.
Right.
And
So now you've directed hundreds of sitcoms from
300.
300.
Actually.
Wow, there you go. Nice round even number.
Yeah.
From shows like Coach, Friends, Everybody Loves Raymond, Mad About You.
Yeah, Ellen, any number of your favorite shows.
Everything, yeah. And from that, in around 2002, you make the switch to feature film.
Yeah, it's really curious. My agent had sent me a script of the Santa Claus 2. She thought that would be a wonderful... I always thought, when I get to do my first movie, it's going to be a small romantic comedy.
Right.
Because that's what everybody had seen me do on TV for so many episodes. And she had tried to slam me into a meeting at Disney on this Santa Claus 2, which was 9 years after the first Santa Claus. They would have nothing to do with me. I mean, what part of no don't you get? We don't want the TV guy. We don't want him. We want a real director. I go off to Chicago to do Joan Cusack's new series for Jim Brooks. And while I'm there, because my agent has been such a colossal pain in the ass to the Disney people, they decided, you know what, let's just see this guy and get this over with. Oh, he's in Chicago? Fine, we'll have a conference call with him. Like 13 people on a conference call and me. The irony of this whole thing is, and I can't tell you why, I took with me the script to Santa Claus 2 to Chicago. I have no idea why. I get the call, they want to talk to you tonight after your camera block. What? So I quickly review, I'm tearing up a gazillion pieces of paper, and I'm laying out on my bed all the different things I want to talk about. Comedy, tone, theme, heart, color, costume, music, everything I can think of. How to shoot, visual effects. And off I went, and I don't have anybody in the room with me. It's me and a conference call of 13 people who hate the fact that they have to talk to me, and they've seen 15 directors over the last 3 days. I'm the last thing they want to do. Almost 2 hours later, I'm done. I hang up the phone. The next morning I go to work. It's a camera blocking day. And I get a call. They want to fly you out Friday night and want you to meet Tim. Whoa.
Tim
Allen.
Tim Allen, right.
Oh,
The star of the
okay.
movie, right.
So I'm flown to Tim's house, and we spent 2 hours together. And mostly I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard at him. I spoke very little. I thought I was going to have to pitch the movie to him. Not at all. I get back in the car. I'm driven to a backyard barbecue where all the executives I didn't meet on the conference call are now waiting for me, where I figure, oh, my God, I have to do this again. But Tim has already called ahead and given the okay. So it's just a light half hour.
Now, did it help, you think, that Tim Allen had such a strong TV background as well? That he it was easier for him to connect to you?
Yeah, listen, we had common ground.
Right.
We both were in the sitcom wars.
Right.
But, I mean, he, too, originally wanted a film guy.
Right.
Even though the Santa Claus was directed by his TV show director.
Right.
And mostly Tim spoke
Right.
at our 2-hour meeting. But it was fun. We laughed. We had a great time. He's a really bright guy. Nobody knows how well-read he is. And by the time I got back to Chicago, they offered the job.
Wonderful.
It was just, it was wild. It was a wild experience.
We have our first IM from Cy Clotron. He wants to know, does he feel, he being you,
Yes.
that Fred Claus was a ripoff of the Santa Claus? Have you seen it yet? Have you had an opportunity?
Here's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen the trailer. When I look at the production value in that set, it's as if they just took our set and rebuilt it. I was shocked at the interiors of the toy factory and the exteriors of the village. I thought, oh my God, That looks it's like SC2. SC3, we in 3 we made it even more glorious and spectacular with Rich and Holland.
Oh, they got T2, now you got SC2.
We have SC2 and SC3.
That's right.
So, no, I think that's Fred is a more satirical, mean-spirited, different kind of movie, not necessarily for the Disney family audience.
Now, one thing that you alluded to in your answer just now, and I overheard you talking to the Peanut Gallery, before we came on in the show, was as a director, and I think this will be interesting to our audience, when you're up for a job, you have to pitch your version of the movie.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And you
need to own it. You need to be proprietary about it. You need to be passionate and enthusiastic about it. The art of the pitch is a skill set. It is a learned, acquired, necessary skill set. You are auditioning. You never are not auditioning as a director. And when you go in, my second movie, Connie and Carla, 44 other directors went in there. What's going to separate me from them? A lot of really skilled men and women went in to meet them. Your particular version, your vision, your passion is everything. And how you behave in the room, how you answer the hard questions, it will define your future with that movie. If you are in any way intimidated by or ineffective or inambitious or shy, you're not going to get the gig.
And you
got to bring it.
Yeah, what I was gleaning from what you were saying before is that involves a complete breakdown of the scenery,
storytelling, thematic material, historical material, how you hear the music, how you see it shot, how you see the tonally, its color, its look. I mean, this is what I do. I cover everything. Trailer moments. There was a time when the first time I was ever asked, well, do you think there are trailer moments? What do you think the trailer would be? I had no idea what they were talking about. And then I realized, my God, this is part of the pitch. Trailer moments are very important to the marketing people who are basically, unfortunately, all that matter right now, as opposed to the storytelling people. So, yeah, you got to bring all that stuff. Big shopping list.
Here we have another question from Captain Jack. He would like to know if you and I, wow, someone's asking me a question. All right, doesn't happen too often. How long?
Is that your own hair?
That's right, exactly. Improv king over here. You want to know how long we feel the strike is going to go. Also, if they feel there is anything the fans can do to change the outcome of this strike.
Look. None of us can look into the future and see anything. The most important thing is that one of them has to invite the other one back to the table. They have got to sit down. The timing of this is kind of funky because the actors don't go out till the end of June. Their contract expires the end of June. So you are, in fact, looking at a 7-month strike unless somebody sits down and gets this done. I can't comment about what the DGA is planning because I'm not allowed to.
You're on the negotiating committee for them.
I'm on the negotiating committee, and we will stay respectful to the two parties that are currently engaged in negotiations. So I can't answer the question with any clarity, with any foresight of any kind. I can tell you to the degree to which people stay with their jaws clenched and their fists balled up and need to win, it'll never settle. No strike is about winning. Any strike that's settled is about making a deal. And you lose a little, and you gain a little, and it's better for your members and for our producer partners. It's good for them. Everybody's going to make more money, and that's the spirit with which you have to go at this. Right now, the spirit is just, we're right. We're not coming back, and that's not conducive to anything.
I mean, my pet peeve with any strike, getting more general now as opposed to being specific, is why do sides seem to wait so long as opposed to coming to the table and making the offer? I mean, one thing I do know is that probably wherever the sides are holding now is not going to be where it ends up. So why do people have to suffer and go through all this whole rigmarole and weaken each other and weaken everyone before people put their final cards on the table, if you will? As for, is there anything you can do to change the outcome of the strike? Off the top of my head, in those James Gunn blogs, I think he actually put something in there for those people who are maybe on the sides of the writers who want to do so. Again, I will post the links to those blogs in the thread for this show. So look in the Filmnut message boards for Filmnut 206.
I tell you, I mean, if you want to, I don't know that any of us have any impact.
Sure.
As fans of television.
Sure.
The single most important thing you can do is scream loud and clear, sit down and talk to each other. Get back to the table and exhaust it until you have a deal. That's what you can do.
Right. Brian?
Oh, I have a question about directing, actually.
Go for it.
So, Michael, I was just on a very small production in comparison to things that you have experience with, and I see it time and time again. As an assistant director, it's kind of I attempt to not let other people direct the film. When you're in a very small crew, it's very easy for even the sound guy or the script supervisor to jump in and want to direct people. And when I know something needs to be done as far as someone stepping into a light, I take very careful care to even just tell the director, oh, they need to be told that this has to happen. I never will go up to the actor and tell them something. I let the director know what's going on. As a director that's been in much bigger features, what's the set protocol? Like, would anyone even dare do that on a bigger set?
Nobody, and I mean nobody, talks to the actors but me. I am the safe person. I am the person who has spent the last 4 to 6 months prepping this. I chose the actors. I worked with the writers. I know how the day should be. Even more importantly, the director's job, first sentence in the directing primer, is to create a safe environment. The directors need to know, at the moment you yell cut, they can look at me. They should look at me. Nobody should be coming and whispering in their ear. It's detrimental, counterproductive, and a really bad idea. One voice in a movie, one voice. And if I find somebody talking to them, you can pretty much be guaranteed that will be the person's first warning, second time, see you later, bye. My sets are filled with joy and fun and like going to camp. And if there is a possibility of somebody hurting that experience, that won't fly.
So for young filmmakers that are in that situation, should I try to block it as much as I can, but if the director himself doesn't establish that as
Did you just
law,
say as an AD you're blocking a scene?
No, not blocking the scene. I try to block people from directing the actors. I try to act against that, and I let people know, listen, if you need to tell them something, tell me.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Is the director you worked with ineffective? Does he have no skill set? Is he afraid to take the mantle of what a director's supposed to do?
Not at all. I thought he's most of the directors I've worked with, I felt very lucky to work with.
Yeah.
I just felt that
Why did people think it was okay to go talk to the actors?
Because I don't think they've been scolded properly when they've done so. Yeah. And the directors I've worked with, again, I'm on smaller productions.
Yeah.
I'm on very small productions.
The director has to say, hey, guys, I'm the only person that talks to the actors. I'm sure you all have great ideas. Share them with me. On my sets, everybody, and I mean anybody, can come to me, stand in my ear and say, hey, what about? And the worst thing I can say is no, and maybe, and I have very often said, ooh, what a great idea. Let's try that. Come to me, only me. Bring those ideas to me. It's always an open door.
Now, is it a gray area when, let's say, you have a Steadicam operator that needs the actor to step in a very certain way?
No.
Not even he can say that.
Then the director needs the Steadicam director to say to the actor, I need you to step here. That's really important. I mean, you're talking about choreography there and potential safety.
So there you go, filmmakers. Don't try to direct people on set. It's the director's job. Because I see it time and time again, and I'm like, what?
I can't believe what I'm hearing because I've never seen it.
Well,
yeah.
And also, what we're talking about now applies to all kinds of business and personal relationships. In the beginning, there are precedents that are set, and you establish right from the get-go how your set's going to be run and controlled and so forth, and you nip that stuff in the butt right off the bat.
Right off the bat. You know, here's another thing that the director has to do. I talk about this all the time. The director has about 6 or 7 minutes to take the temperature, emotional temperature of the set. And by that I mean particularly of your actors. You walk on, and you got about 6 minutes to clock, particularly in TV. Who's ready to work? Who needs to eat? Who got their period last night? Who broke up with their boyfriend last night? Who wants to talk about the scene first? Who wishes they weren't here? Who's late to pick up their pants at the cleaners? You got to get all this stuff clocked so you know who's ready to work, who's not ready to work, and what therapy you have to perform in order to get them to begin to maximize their day to be a success.
You know, those are great specifics, you know, because we talk about on the show sometimes director's job being to put everyone in the best position to possibly succeed, but those are some of the factors, many factors, outside of...
Taking the emotional temperature of the room is vital.
Yes.
Vital, and you just got to develop a skill set that gives you a pan view, and you're taking in just imagine you're shooting it in your head, and the camera goes slow-mo on somebody, and you see what he's thinking, and how this person's behaving, and what that person's crying about, and this one came in late because they were. You know, in our second year of Friends, when that show just became the rocket ride, there were days where Jennifer came in just absolutely hysterical in tears because some crazed fan had screamed after her car on the freeway and down every street she went to until she finally got safely into the confines of Warner Brothers. She needed time to collect herself. Or Matthew had gone out the night before to go to get some sodas at the 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. because he couldn't sleep.
Perry or LeBlanc?
Perry,
Okay.
and 14 paparazzi took pictures of every single thing he was doing, and the next morning he comes in and he's so, tense. You got to get, okay, you know what? The first hour of today, it's not important for us to rehearse. Let's just hang, and let's just, everybody just relax and talk and whatever we have to do, and then we'll get started. You're dealing with that stuff every day. Somebody's mom dies the night before. We'll shoot something else. Go be with your family. That's real important stuff.
Yeah, so you were talking about in film, but more so in TV. What are some other differences in directing film and television?
Well, that's several hours.
Right.
No, that's another show. But I'll tell you something that's really cool.
Sure.
Is, I as we talked before, sure. I did an enormous amount of episodic television.
Right.
Walking onto the set one day of Santa Claus 2, in which there were a flying rig, 4 Ritter fans, 2 green screens, 250 elves, 2 stuntmen, flying reindeer, flying sleigh, bungee cams, dolly track, platforms built, and people running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I felt like, my God, what did I do to get dropped into heaven? This is spectacular. I was so excited to be there. That was big film. That's like the stuff you look at when you see the making of stuff. Right. Now I was the making. I was making. Right. And this was big stuff. We were about to do a big sleigh chase in the sky, and it was so exciting. You don't get that on Ellen.
Right.
You don't get that scene in Mad About You. That's the biggest difference. Right. The other difference is the director is king in movies. That position is so respected, so significant. People look to that person because that's the person who's going to make every decision that day that means anything.
In TV?
In TV, it's a writer-producer's medium.
Mm-hmm. Showrunner, maybe?
It's a writer-producer's medium. That's what a showrunner is. But in movies, it's still the director's medium. He's the final decision. Now, I love to collaborate with my people. I value my first AD as much as anybody on the set. He is my heart beating. That's my arms and legs. My DP, my editor who's there. I really count on their input. I mean, I have very strong opinions, but I really value their opinions. I love the filmmaking process and that collaboration. I will never take a film by credit. I don't believe in it. I know that I'm responsible for everything, but I don't do it by myself.
Right. Absolutely.
So just my point of view.
Well, let's take a look at a clip from Santa Claus 2, and I believe the clip we're going to show is your first day on the set. On the set working.
That was a pretty glorious day, I'll tell you about.
Hopefully I got this right.
Hi.
Hi.
I was really good this year.
Is that so? Are you absolutely sure about that, Pamela?
I want a dollhouse and a swimming pool.
A swimming pool?
I'm sorry, she just insisted on talking to you.
It's not a problem.
Okay.
I tell you what. If you can promise me you'll be good, I can personally guarantee you'll have a great Christmas.
Okay. Yes.
Well, here's the really cool thing about that scene.
Go ahead.
That was my first day, and many directors, whenever you read interviews or or perhaps on this show or somewhere else, very often they'll talk about their first movie and the pressure of where to put the camera and look like you know what you're doing. I work really fast. TV has taught me to work really fast, and so I come in really, really prepared. This day's work, I did this day and the next day, the same day. So my first day, I did 2 days.
That's very rare in a big budget like this.
I don't know what it is, but my goodness, were they happy. Disney was happy. Tim was so thrilled. We took a day out of schedule the first day.
Right.
The first day. And I was very confident. Right. I very much relied on my DP to collaborate with me on, is this the best way to, or what's a better way to get? I want to see it like this. I have an idea that it should be this lens. Is there a better lens? But the actors were there, ready. You know, Tim never does it the same way twice, but he was 100% an advocate of the day. I got everybody's attention really fast because they saw, wow, we're ripping through this stuff, and it's good. And it's funny, you know, seeing that again, I just realized when the mom says, yeah, she just insisted on coming over to talk to you, that was shot 2 weeks later in a backyard against some trees. Because we couldn't shoot it there because we were off the set.
Right.
In that park. And that snow is all snow biz. It's not real.
Oh.
Yep. Yep.
Well, we got...
That's all fake snow?
Yeah.
It's all fake snow?
Company from Dallas called Snow Biz. It's fantastic. We never had snow. We were in Vancouver. They don't get snow in town. There's too much water. It doesn't stick. So we snowed in entire blocks at a time.
Now, how did this film meet your expectations as far as the result versus what you went and going into?
The joy for me was when we sat down initially, there were those at the studio who felt like more fantasy, more entertainment value, bigger bells and whistles. And I always felt this really needs to have more heart and more of a big emotional story in the middle. It needs more of the, oddly enough, the adult story. The story being, if that man doesn't marry that woman, Christmas is over. So we need to develop them a little bit and get some real emotional bottom there. And we went around and around on that. And the gratifying thing for me was how emotionally impacted my audiences were. It was so satisfying and gratifying, I can't tell you, because I stuck to my guns. I was right about how important it is. God bless Disney. They allowed me to bring in a writer who's a closer, Diane English. She's a brilliant writer, and she closed this thing, man. She brought an emotional heart and a voice for our Mrs. Claus that it didn't heretofore have, and it enabled me to shoot more of that adult story, and that was the heart. And sitting in the theater time after time, listening to people cry, watching people connect with characters, recognize themselves, become community in a theater, which is, you know, you hope and pray for, and never disconnect at a stupid visual effect or something. It was worth $1 million. Worth $1 million.
That's why. Good story. Good
Yeah.
story. Let's get to some more IMs, and then we'll transition, I guess, into a little bit of 3, and maybe show another clip or 2 from 2.
Okay.
Let's see. Dan the Pool Man. Question for Michael. How much influence does the studio exec have over the director's vision? Is it sometimes crippling to the creative process?
It's everything, Dan. It's Dan the Pool Man. It's probably not your real name. The studio can be so intrusive that it takes your vision out of your hands. The studio can be collaborative, and you work together to find a mutual vision that works really well. And the studio can be 100% your advocate and still not compromise their own concerns and share them with you. And when you work through them being the problems, with your studio partners, it can be a glorious experience. My experience on both Disney movies was glorious. I could not have better creative partners.
Now, did you find that maybe after 2, that they maybe listened to you a little bit more because you had the one under your belt now, or?
No. I think they were thrilled with the movie, and I think we did enormous amount of business, but that doesn't preclude them from doing their job. And their job is to make sure that if they have concerns, whether I share them or not, they are articulated and we talk about them. And we did. You know, it was the same people as I had the last time, so we had a wonderful working relationship, and it worked really well, and I really care for them.
Now, you had a different DP on 3 than you did 2, right?
I did indeed.
And working relationship just as good?
Oh, yeah. My DP on 3, Robbie Greenberg, I've actually known since 1969.
Oh.
He married my oldest friend. We literally grew up in the cradle together. Literally, my parents and her parents were best friends. We were in the crib at the same time. They had us at the same time. We're like a week apart, age-wise. So I've known Robbie a really long time. We wanted for the longest time to work together, and finally we found a window. So we had a fantastic time together.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Brian, is there a still you want to show?
Yeah, I just want to go back to this real quick. Again, I didn't know this, but people, when we're doing pickups or stuff, people are so picky about things, and I'm always a fan of people will never know. And so that you have that shot, and then you just told us that was shot 2 weeks later.
Right, in a backyard. We brought
Again,
her
you
in.
would never know.
No.
Because if the
No,
story...
because in the master, can you go back?
Yeah.
Because in the master, you don't see what's behind her.
Yeah. And
so you're safe. And again, remember, that's all fake snow. Look how beautiful that is.
Looks fine to me. And again, if you're paying attention to the story, who is going to care about that? Who's going to even think about that?
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea what we do in movies. We flip the negative. We turn shots around. We steal the reaction from a scene from a different place, as long as it's the same location, and put it in. I would love to sit down someday with a bunch of filmmaking people and show them, okay, see that? And tell them what happened and why it was like that and what really happened. In the opening of Santa Claus 3, we flopped the negative because we used the same shot in the movie later, and you don't know.
Right. Well, it's funny. You were talking about the heart of the story, and how important that is. So we have a couple of clips that kind of lend themselves to that. So I definitely want to get to one now. This is the one where we introduce the teacher character, right, who eventually may become.
Okay.
And then we'll show maybe a little bit of her transformation later.
Right.
So we can give an example of what you were just talking about.
Okay.
Principal Newman, there's something about that woman that makes me want to face public property. Hey!
Hello, Mr. Callahan. Laura, Neil. Miss Newman.
Principal Newman.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since the last time Charlie was in trouble.
Well, I've been traveling for work, you know.
Oh, well, maybe if you spent more time with your son, there would be fewer problems.
Maybe, but then I wouldn't get to spend so much time with you, which is always such a pleasure.
Oh, a battle of wits. It's a shame that you come unarmed. Excuse me.
Good morning, Principal Newman.
Mr. Picardo, I want you to look into my eyes. What are you seeing?
It's dark, and it's cold.
It's your future, Mr. Picardo. Keep this up and you will spend the rest of your life stabbing trash by the highway. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
So what are you gonna do?
I'm going straight to third period geometry.
Have a nice trip.
It's dark and it's cold.
It's dark
I
and it's
love
cold.
that.
Two thoughts here. One is that line, oh, a battle of wits, it's a shame you come unarmed, was actually said to an actor named Danny Davis, one of the most famous regional actors. He became the butler in the Nanny, Fran Drescher series. That was Danny Davis.
Okay.
Well, those of us who worked in the theater for many, many years revere Danny Davis. He's one of the great actors of the theater. And he was in a bar one night, and he's really a brilliant guy as well. And somebody came in, and you know, as you do with the tough guy, you're not so tough and you want to get into a fight with the guy. This guy had heard about him and wanted to get into a battle of wits with him. And Danny said to him, well, it's a shame you come unarmed. So I suggested this might be a great spot for it, and Elizabeth threw it in. The other thing is, the challenge of that scene is that's going to establish that character. That is, you know, for all means and purposes, one of those stock characters. It's the hard ass who's going to ultimately have the heart of gold. And it's a really daunting challenge to find a nice, easy place to begin so it's not a cliche. So there is, in spite of needing to have somewhere to build to, some humanity. Otherwise, it's never earned. How could she get here from there? So what you see is this scene, another scene where she's a little bit tough, but there's a little chink in the armor. And then that scene that you showed earlier in the park where she begins to soften as he disarms her. And in a traditional romantic comedy, you get 3 acts to keep the two people apart with obstacles. And at the end of the 3rd act, you finally get them together in the audience. Yay! In Santa 2, I only had an act and a half of their relationship. So I had to accelerate the pace at which they get together fairly quickly. And that was challenging.
What I appreciate and respect about what you're saying is, you know, as a fan of filmmaking, as a film nut, if you will, you know, take the time to develop that story. You know what I mean? Take the time to do what you're talking about. Don't just be you can have the bells and whistles, you can have the effects, you can have the snow, whatever your type of movie is. But sometimes you go to movies and you wonder if people took the time to proofread it. You know, to proofread the script.
Well, the other thing is, I read this wonderful editorial by, forgive me, I'm never going to remember, somebody very great film writer. And the caption of the article was, "What's the hurry? Why are people flying through story to get to the car crash when, in fact, the 10 movies you take to the island with you, if you have 10, are all great stories told? It's not the car crash movies. It's not the visual effects movies. It's the movies that you had a dramatic experience, that you invested in. And that's good. That's because of good storytelling. That's because somebody took time to lay out the emotional content of that story. That's
Definitely
what it's all about.
Well, we got some IMs I want to get to. They've been
Come on, bring
patiently
it.
waiting.
Bring
Great.
it.
Let's see. How much time do you spend rehearsing with actors before principal photography starts?
It's always different. For example, Tim Allen doesn't like to rehearse. I find with most comedic and or stand-up actors I've worked with, they just want the audience in, and they want to be fresh. So they don't like to rehearse. And I have to find a way to get them to, or if they really are against it, you don't. In Tim's case, I was able to convince him to come into my office when we were in Vancouver, and over a period of 3 days, I brought in an actor at a time, and we would work on the scenes with that actor in a very loose, informal, shoes and socks are flying on the floor, not literally, but the feeling of that, but sitting in couches and chairs. And he warmed to it, and it gave us a great leg up because ultimately he got to hear the text, and we made some wonderful changes on the fly as a result. So he's one that doesn't like to rehearse. Conversely, I can't imagine not rehearsing when you're working with Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser. They came in early, and
From Mad About You?
From Mad About You.
Yep.
They would stay later than anybody I've ever rehearsed with because rehearsal was so important to them. So by the time we got to the audience on Friday, they were a well-oiled machine. And not only that, that story was locked down, no rewrites. This is the story we want to tell.
Do you utilize improvisation?
With Paul and Helen?
In general?
No. Not with them.
Not with them?
No. Now, having said that, I love to have the actors play. And in Paul and Helen's case, there will be inspiration that occurs during a rehearsal. Something will come out of it, and that's the new line, or that's the new thing that happens. Or there's a discovery made, oh, this scene shouldn't be in the bedroom. Look what's happening. Let's put this on the couch in the living room. So, yes, you have to allow play. You only have so many hours, 3 days to get ready. So, yeah, the luxury is the same way with Ray Romano. You have the guy who created the show on the floor with you, and they have license to write, unlike any other show. So making changes on the floor when a line is thrown out that's new and sticks, I have permission to use it. So that's pretty great.
Captain Jack is back.
Captain Jack.
He would like to ask you what you think about the new format of CGI in movies and how a director's job is going to change with this new format in movies like Beowulf.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I don't know if you. Okay, so format. The word format threw me. I don't listen. It's a personal thing. I don't respond to the Beowulf look at all. I'd rather see real people or give me animation. That hybrid is not appealing to me. I find myself disconnecting and not getting involved when I see that. All I am is looking at the technology, and it's not particularly interesting to me. Like there's commercials on now where they have that animation technique over the live action people so it feels like they're animated. Just use the real people. What makes you think that's any more interesting? It's not. So I don't get it.
Right. Yeah,
I don't get it.
And once the novelty wears off, then you're really.
I would much rather have seen the Polar Express done as filmmakers as great as Zemeckis could have done it, with beautiful production value, as opposed to that. It either be animation or be live action. I'm not keen on the hybrid. Having said that, watching it shoot is the most fascinating thing I have ever seen. Shooting in the black box with the black outfits with all the stuff on is fascinating to watch. Oh, it's fascinating, but that's all it is. It's just technology.
Sure.
I detach as a viewer.
I hear you. I heard you talking before the show also about digital versus film, and I guess you have an independent film project.
That was a private conversation. Why were you listening?
Oh, okay. I was in host mode. I was preparing.
all right, okay.
I can pick up
preparing.
I can pick up a nugget, So you have an indie film coming up that you told me, so that wasn't personal information, right? And they're going to be shooting on film. Is that correct?
Yes. I have had the pleasure very early on when 24p came. I went to Sony that summer and actually worked on the cameras and watched them build them and saw what that was all about. And they're very cumbersome. And but it was the seminal period for the HD cameras, and it was interesting, but nobody took it seriously. And then I shot a couple of pilots on HD, and in one of them, visually not very successfully, because I didn't know enough yet about how you get blown out if you don't adjust your white, your white balance. And then the second one, much more successful, because I had them paint all the walls dark, took all the lights down, and it really looked cool. This year, I had the pleasure of working on Californication, David Duchovny's new show for Showtime, and that's some great-looking stuff. Man, these DPs are learning how to shoot digitally, and it looks rich. and I'm really surprised at how rich it looks. So I have no idea what your question was, because once I start talking, I forget.
Just the viability of HD and how you can.
It's here. You know, we as filmmakers can fight it, but if a studio says, here's the deal, we want to give you X amount of dollars to work with these actors on this material, but we want to shoot it in high def, you want to do it, or do you need to shoot it in film and we'll get somebody else? So we have that's the devil you sleep with, if that's here.
Okay, so now.
By the way, personally, I'd rather work only on film.
Right.
But HD is here, and I'm happy to play.
Okay. Niels on Wheels would like to know, my question is, as an actor turned director, is it easier to work with well-known actors or no-name actors who are making their break in your film?
I want to answer your question with a quick anecdote, which is, again, I've had this amazing. I'm so look at this. I'm tongue-tied for the first time in my life. I've had the distinct pleasure of working with some gigantic people as actors and actresses. Joan Plowright, Dame Joan Plowright, was married to Laurence Olivier, big-time English actress. She's working with Nathan Lane on Nathan Lane's ill-fated TV series. I can't remember what it's called. He plays a wine guy in San Francisco. I'm rehearsing a scene, and the scene is over, and I find myself now walking into the set to give Joan Plowright, one of the great dames of the theater of all time, notes and adjustments. And as I'm walking in, the voice in my head is saying, what are you doing? Get out of there. Get out of there. It's Joan Plowright. She was married to Laurence Olivier. What do you think you know that she doesn't know? Don't give a note. Don't give a note. Don't dive. Now I'm at her face, and I realize I have to do my job. I adjust her. She loves it, because that's what they want as a director, to help them. And we go on to do the scene again, and she's wonderful. Same thing with Mel Brooks. Here I am working with Mel Brooks, who plays Uncle Phil on Mad About You. And as I'm walking into the set, it's the same thing. Are you kidding? What makes you think that you know more about comedy than Mel Brooks? That you can deliver for him a moment that he's not getting? He's Mel Brooks. Get out of there. Get out of there. Don't say anything. And then all of a sudden I'm in front of Mel Brooks, who grabs my hand and is looking at me eagerly for my thoughts on what he just did. And I realize that's the job. That is the job. All of them, experienced actors, famous actors, brand new actors, want your objective eye. They trust you. They look to you. And until a time at which you have lost their trust or haven't earned it anymore, if you bring your skill set with you and you're good at what you do, when you yell cut, they should only look at you because they know there's the person who can help me. That's the person who can maximize my possibility of succeeding. So they all want your input. They all need you to help them, regardless of who they are, regardless of who you think they are, like I did with Mel and Joan Plowright. I'm thinking, I'm not worthy of these people, but in fact, I'm exactly what they need. So I hope that was the answer.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know, Mel Brooks owns this building that we're in right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he owns it. I'm waiting for him to. I have this Filmnut package ready for him. I'm waiting for him to check out the lobby construction. You notice it's all torn apart.
Yeah.
He has to come and approve it at one point, so I'm waiting.
Oh my God, he's in New York doing Young Frankenstein. It's going to be a little while.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit till it's done, but I'm going to jump him and be like, hey, we got to show.
When we did our first, when we did our table read the first time Mel came to do our show on Mad About You, it ran 18 minutes long. It should have been about 20 some odd minutes. It was like well over a half hour. And it's because Mel kept improvising on every page. He can't stop himself. And of course, we are crying. We're holding we're going to be hospitalized if we have to laugh any harder. And then it notes, Mel stays for notes because he's Mel Brooks. And he says, I need two things. And the first one he says, I need to say the word peach. And the other one is, he says, Uncle Phil doesn't say cookie. He says cookie. So I'm going to say cookie instead of cookie. And then on the night of the shoot, I can see, during the week of rehearsal, Paul has no discipline. Paul is literally laughing at everything Mel does and can't get through a scene. Right. And Mel, as much as he swears he'll stay to the blocking, just won't. But I don't let him know that I know that he's not going to. So the night of the shoot, I do two things. Of the 4 cameras, I put one camera on John Pankow the entire time in a close-up. So I know when I can't cut to Paul, I got Pankow, so I can cut away from Mel. The other thing is, I gather all my cameramen, my 4 operators, dolly grips, and assistants. I say, okay, look, here's what I'm telling you to do. before every scene. Everybody widen out 15 frames. Do it right now. I want you 15 frames wider. I'm telling you, he will not go anywhere we've rehearsed. And sure enough, not only did he not go anywhere we rehearsed, in any scene, he left the set. he broke the fourth wall. You see guys fighting for their lives on the wheels, but thank God they had the 15 extra millimeters. So it was an adventure, and I swear to God, instead of being on the floor and keenly watching, ready to give notes between takes and come back in for take 2, I went up in the stands, and Helen and me and my whole family sat there like children with our knees over the side like this, watching and enjoying like we were an audience. Here's the best story. For those of you who didn't know, Mel was married to the late, great Anne Bancroft. Annie Italiano is her real name. I called her and invited her to come to see the filming of his first episode that he did. She said, you know what? I'm tired of him. I don't think he's that funny. I've seen him work, and I got other things to do. I don't want to come. Oh, okay, I tried. The night of the shoot, she shows up. And she looks just like my Aunt Celia, by the way. So she shows up,
Hello, Aunt Celia.
And most people don't know it's her. She's not made up. She's not looking as her amazing self, and we promised we wouldn't introduce her. And this is so great. So now we're sitting, as I said, we're sitting with our legs dangling over the side, watching Mel, basically make mincemeat of what I've directed all week in rehearsal. The scene is over. Oh my God, his first scene was beyond funny. And out of the din of fan appreciation and laughter, I hear, cutting through all the noise, oh my God, I had no idea he was so funny. And it's Anne Bancroft. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's great.
What a genuine moment that was.
Well, I tell you, just in the whole story and the setup, I mean, I know it was Mel Brooks and everything, but just like taking the emotional temperature of the room, you adapted to your talent. You adapted to the situation.
You're better. It's Mel.
Right.
He's an animal.
Right. That seems like it's your philosophy.
Should see him eat. Right. I never saw anybody eat like that in my life. Usually performance anxiety dictates that you can't eat. You're churning. Your body won't allow you to put food in because you're nervous before you perform, no matter how long you've been doing it. Mel Brooks at the craft service table he's a freaking animal. I never saw anybody eat like that before a show in my life. My God, this guy could knock it back.
That's funny. I want to knock out a few more questions.
Well, now if he ever comes on, I have a clip to play.
We have a clip to play for him.
Show.
Yeah. Streamer with a number attached to it wants to know: do you like to work with the same crew each movie, or do you like working with new people?
Both. I love working with new people, and having said that, I like my same crew all the time. Now, if I'm working in Canada, I'm going to have my keys, but the rest of the crews are going to be Canadian. Working in the States, I can pretty much have my same crew all the time. My key people are always the same. I love them. They know how I like to work. They work at the speed of light with me, and they are people who love to be there. They love to get up and come to work, and they know they're going to have fun all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business that breeds loyalty.
It really does.
I want to get to it real quick. You did the 2 big budget movies.
Yeah.
And then you did Connie and Carla.
Right.
And you're about to do another, little bit. But how would you compare the experience of Connie and Carla to the 2 bigger budgets?
No visual effects.
There you go.
But the challenge of Connie and Carla was that we had a greatly reduced schedule, and I had 100 pages of dialogue and 20 musical numbers.
Right.
So that had a completely different kind of challenge. And yet, under time, under budget, la 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 la.
Well, we got a question from Kung Fu Laser Beam Jesus.
Hey.
And we met him before the show started,
Wow.
so we definitely want to get a question of his in. What is your favorite movie that you've directed?
We've only directed 3.
There you go. So it's not a...
So of the 3, I love all my children.
That's right.
I love them equally.
Fair enough. Brian, what's your question?
All right, you keep saying how your keys, they work at the speed of light. Again, another question that I have that I ask myself when I'm working on a small independent production, the sun's going down. We really need to get X, Y, and Z in, and X, Y, and Z crew member are just like, it's like they have all the time in the world, literally moseying, taking 5 minutes to even answer you, not answering you when you ask them a question, and again, as the AD,
Lord.
It's like I don't want to rush people. I want.
That's your job.
I don't want to.
You're a bad cop. AD is bad cop.
Well,
Guys, let's go.
He's got a bad
Let's
cop.
go.
He's got a bad cop complex.
We got 10 minutes left. Move your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Get that light over there. Let's go.
And
We got to get
found
this.
even when I do that, there's some people that just they'll just ignore you. And so, do you just stray away from those people on the next
Go get the
project?
light yourself.
Yeah.
And put it where it needs to be. And don't ever hire that person
I
again.
see it time and time again, and it's like the sun's literally going down, and the person just won't answer you. And I don't. For the
Who
most
hired
part,
that person?
Well, it's just usually it's friend of a friend on a small project.
Oh, that's right. These are just your Uncle Charlie helping
these
out,
are
right?
something like that.
Well, you know what? Then they can't really be held accountable. You can't. What did Pat Riley say? It's this really cool thing about you can't pass the guy the ball with 3 seconds left until he's ready to shoot it. You can't hire these people and expect at 10 minutes left that they're going to run because they don't know where they're running to or how to run.
Oh, and with that, we should go to our sports question on the board, Jeff.
Yes, I was going to get.
Awesome! I'm a sports freak, so let's go.
Professional courtesy here, the SportsWiser, Danny. How do you pronounce his last name?
Danny Hazami. He does the show here. Yeah.
He does a show here called SportsWiser, and he wants to say hello to you because he used to take a class. He and his sister. That you and his sister taught. Danny Hazami.
Of course,
yeah.
Danny.
Yeah.
Hi, Danny.
He wants to know what you think.
That's great.
If you think the Yankees should re-sign A-Rod.
Do I think the Yankees should re-sign A-Rod? Well, they've already offered him the money. I mean, A-Rod's not going to get a bigger offer anywhere else.
Well, as you know, he opted out. He wouldn't even meet with them.
I know, but
now there's speculation.
But
that
Buster Olney today said he thinks he's still going back to the
Yes.
Yankees.
And do you want that?
Do I want it? I'm a Met fan.
Ah, I thought you were a Yankee.
And we have a pretty great third baseman.
There you go.
No, if I'm going to talk about the American League, I'll root for the Yankees.
Okay. But you're a Met
So
fan.
I tell you, I would love to see A-Rod go to the Angels. I would love to see Guerrero hit about 450 with somebody like A-Rod hitting behind him.
Right.
I just think Guerrero is a superstar,
He is.
and A-Rod would bring him a lot of attention. I think that would be great.
Guerrero is the most frightening human being to pitch to because
Swing at anything.
He can swing it. He can hit it anywhere out of the ballpark.
And he's he's stone cold Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But my God, to have somebody actually hitting behind him, I can't imagine what he would do.
Yeah,
that would be fun to watch. I'd love to see that.
All right, Danny, you owe me one. So now, if there's an independent filmmaker out there getting ready to make a movie, what are some tips you would make first or second-time director in jeting into the filmmaking business?
So you're not asking me if he's going into an independent film. You're saying as any filmmaker.
Any filmmaker.
What are my two pearls of wisdom?
What are your pearls of wisdom? Yeah.
Wow. So you're asking me to prioritize 1,000 pearls of wisdom.
That's right.
All right. Here's my first one. Okay, and it's going to sound like I'm being facetious. I'm absolutely not. Somebody taught this to me, and there's nothing more important. Okay, you ready? It's not going to be anything that you think. Comfortable shoes. I rotate my shoes every day. I wear a different pair of sneaks every single day with the stuff inside them to cushion my feet. When you're working on sound stages on that cement floor, it is hell on the legs. You better have great, comfortable shoes. And every day, a different pair. Rotate 5 pair if you've got them. Same thing if you're outside, working in cold weather on sidewalks or something. The legs go first. I'm a kind of director, I never sit down. I can't sit down. I'm like at the metabolism of a hummingbird. I'm constantly flitting around the set. But comfortable shoes, I can't give you anything more important. That's the single most important thing.
There you go.
And the other thing is, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's kind of a cliche, but for me it is the definition next to, director, creating a safe environment. You really have to let your actors know that it is safe to not do well for an hour, to be blowing a scene for 40 minutes, to not being able to having a hard time discovering the moment that you need so you can move on. You need to love on them, love on them, love on them. Let your cast and crew know they can't make a mistake. They're there because you chose them. And you are to advocate, be their advocate, and never stop letting them know you have a great affinity for them. Create a safe space, the single most important thing a director does.
Very nice. Now, what is your next project that you're working on?
None of your business.
None of my business? None of your business is a small independent film. No.
It looks like I'm going to go. I had no idea this was going on, but a lot of guys who get a lot more money than me, or a lot more famous than I am, are lining up DVD movies like crazy. Direct-to-video. I'm going to do one.
Great.
It's actually a script I love based on a series of books that is a monster international bestseller. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great fun. And when that's done, I'm either going to do a play, or I'm going to do a series of TV shows for Showtime, or a movie if I can squeeze it in that's knocking. And if none of those things work out because of timing, then a very, very large movie this summer.
Fantastic. Well, keep us informed of what that is, and we'll let the viewers know.
You'll have to have me back.
We'll give them links.
Know.
Oh, okay. Very good. We'd love to have you back. And last question. We'd love to ask this one, right, Brian?
Yes.
What is your favorite set term speak? Do you have one? Back to one. First.
Oh my God! I had my sound man, because I have so many of them, and they're all with stuff that I made up. My sound man presented me with a wooden plaque with all my sayings carved in them.
Right.
Probably my favorite one is when somebody screws up, and let's say it's a great camera operator from Montreal named Robert Stecco. What I'll shout is, "Stecco's last day in the movie, everybody!" Constantly. You know, if Tim, another one was Tim gets a scene really great on week 4, you'll hear me say, "Finally, something I can put in the movie that works." Stuff like that. I had those. None of the ones you'd expect. They're all stuff of my own invention that become the speak on the set.
Sure. Okay. Well, I lied because there's something else flashing on me on the board.
What has he got? What do you got?
Would you ever direct a sports movie from the Sports Wiser?
In a heartbeat. I'm a jock sniffer. I played ball. I played ball in high school. I was the idiot who, when I was doing his TV show called One Day at a Time, I made sure that every year CBS broadcast the NBA All-Star Game. I would go. I would have them send me to the game, just so I could make a fool out of myself in front of Jack Sikma, or some big guy who didn't get out of high school and yet graduated college. Quick, am I allowed a quick anecdote, or are we done?
Sure, go for it.
On the Warner Brothers lot, Warner Brothers asked Michael Jordan to do a movie. Space Jam.
Space Jam,
right?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan said, "I will do this movie under these conditions. You build me a full court basketball court, you build me a driving range, and you build me a full set of weights." They dismantled the Long Beach City College gym. It's one of those white domey things, and they brought it to the back lot of Warner Brothers. They put up one of those video driving ranges so he could hit the balls into that, and about 100 yards of weights so all his friends could come and work out with him. In the morning, Michael Jordan exercised, then he shot. At lunchtime, he ran, then he shot. At dinner time, and he always had to knock off around 5 o'clock, and this is where I'm getting to. The word goes out that he has a full court basketball game going on from like 5 to 8. 5-on-5 pickup games. Except the 15 guys, 20 guys that are playing are the who's who of the NBA. You name it, they're at the game playing 5-on-5. Clooney, you name it. Anybody's there. Oh, I gotta go. Yeah, the scene's great, but I'm done. I gotta go. And we would all sit on the bench next to the players, jock sniffers, all of us, just wanting to sit next to these, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and all these amazing players that were there. About 4 days into this, I noticed that Jordan isn't having fun. He's so intense, whereas the other guys are talking smack and slapping fannies and high fives and having the time of their life because they're getting to hang with each other and play and outdo each other and talk smack. And Jordan is playing like the 7th game of the playoffs.
That's Jordan.
And I know this probably is not the answer to his question, but what I'm getting to is something really cool. It's a nice place to finish your show. And so I said, "Hi, Mr. Jordan, I'm Michael Lembeck, and you've seen me. I'm coming here every day. And I want to ask you something if it's not disrespectful." And I said to him, "I noticed that everybody's having such a good time, and you're so intense. You're playing so hard, playing to win and playing as if you're on the Bulls and you're in an important, significant game." I said, "Why is that?" And he said to me, "I never practice mistakes." I was breathtaken by that. So every time he does anything having to do with the basketball, it's as if it's 15,000 people in the arena and the game is on. He never practices mistakes. I work with Carol Burnett, and I work with Nathan Lane, and these are two, for me, comedy gods. Nathan, every rehearsal, every line reading, every table read, anything, he does as if it's opening night. Carol Burnett does every single moment of the day is as if she's going on right there. And that's why they're so great. And I try to subscribe to the same thing. Every moment of my day has to be about maximizing everybody's ability, and mine as well, to succeed. And that's by totally investing myself in moment to moment, doing as well as I possibly can. I found that moment with him absolutely a breathtaking moment. I don't practice mistakes.
Yeah.
And my God, I never thought about that, but it actually absolutely defines him.
Yes. Well, I would have to say, sticking with the sports metaphor, that is the home run pearl of wisdom. And seriously, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Yeah. Michael, the time has just flown by. There's so many more questions I can't believe I didn't get a chance to ask you. but we'd love to have you back.
If I started singing a song now, would you have to pay a royalty? Because I'm reminded of so many songs as he's waxing sentimental here that I could be singing on your way out. But I don't want you to have to pay a royalty, so never mind.
Well, we appreciate that. Peter Basler, great to see you back in the studio.
Way to get in there, Peter. Way to stay involved.
We wish you.
Appreciate
Brian
it.
Grimeau, congratulations on your film.
Thank you.
Viewers, thank you so much for all your IMs, and I want to apologize to those we didn't get to. I know there was a lot out there, but the time flew by, and we try to get to as many as we can and also keep it interactive here with Brian and myself. So thanks again for tuning in and for giving us your questions. Thank you to Ustream, Block TV, and Stickam, and we will see you back here next week. I am Jeff Schubert. Until then.
That's good the way you do it.
Huh?